Hold on. Make a face in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody. This is so fake. I'm gonna talk like this for the whole time. Ugh. All right. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to whatever this is. I'm Brad, and Brad Kingston. Not that it matters, does it?
Dude, you're already ruining it. You're
Anyway,
already
leave
making
it.
this
Leave it.
you're already making this unwatchable.
That's what I do. Uh,
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm Bradley Kingston, and I'm an independent filmmaker. And I'm here with my friend Michael Beckemeyer, who is also a filmmaker.
Mhm.
We've made films together, and I just recently moved to Ohio. We used to live in Orlando, and we made the films together, several short films and a feature film. And for some reason, right after I moved to Ohio, you decided to make a film without me.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of an intervention of why.
It's what's that Hamilton song? Not gonna miss my shot, or that maybe that's
Oh,
an Eminem song. Yeah, yeah. Had to
okay.
take my chance while I could. Yeah, strike
Right.
while the iron's hot. Yeah, wait.
Yep.
Wait till the timing. It's all about
Mhm.
timing, man.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're even working on something else in the background with the little Hollywood friend you have that just, oh, let's make another thing. Well, okay, why don't you just make all the movies while I'm not here? That's oh,
Yeah.
sure. I'll just stay here to slowly die. Anyways, you're
That's what I've wanted. I've known you for 30 years. I've been waiting for that moment.
um. So, what is the name of the film? And we can get into some of our history in a little bit, but since we're talking about your latest film, can you give us a little summary and why you what made you feel that this was the thing you had to do right now?
Well, the Grotesque is a small story, which is one of the reasons that I felt I could make it, now with the limited resources and smaller budget and stuff. There's essentially only, I would say, 95% of the movie has just two people in it. The other portions, there's only two other, so there's four characters in the whole thing. It's very contained. Um, it's called The Grotesque, and it's about it's essentially about a guy who is disfigured from an accident early in his life that killed his parents, and he's spent so much of his life alone. He's isolated and sort of kept to himself and withdrawn, very self-conscious about his appearance. You know that feeling, right, Brad?
Um,
Self-conscious about your
I,
appearance.
I
Well, you
plead the
should be.
fifth. But,
No, he's very self-conscious about his appearance, so this has stunted him socially. He's not very socialized at all. He's never really been able to be around people without, you know, clamming up or
sounds
getting
like
nervous or
somebody
whatever.
we know.
Yeah. So he but he finally reaches a point in his life where he decides he's got to put himself out there. I gotta go out there. Like, he gets sort of in a manic phase where he's like, I gotta go out there and try to meet the love of my life, or I'm gonna be alone my whole life. But since he's never been socialized, he's never really known how to be around people. He he doesn't know how to do it without being weird or creepy or upsetting, or do it, and he spirals out of control from this one interaction. He's in a grocery store. This nice lady lets him go first. She's very polite to him. She smiles at him. She's just a kind, person you'd cross paths with in a grocery store or something. And he he blows that way out of proportion. She must have liked me, and it spirals out of control from there, all the way down to, he
Right.
stalks her at her house. He ultimately grabs her and takes her back to his place and holds her hostage in a very Beauty and the Beast style thing. And it's a psychological thriller, and it's really the rest of the film takes place between those two people. You have the Stockholm syndrome, you have the fractured grasp on reality. We don't know what's real, what isn't real, and all that stuff. The
Right.
grotesque.
Yeah, it sounds like he has
Sorry.
sounds like he has arrested development and
Oh, yeah.
and is severely lacking in social skills, which I have autism, so I can't relate a lot because I
Yeah,
don't
he's based on you, like our
interact with
last
people a
film.
lot.
Yeah, like our last film. It's based on you. Really pathetic and totally awkward. The grotesque. There's a reoccurring theme, Brad.
Right. Apparently, I've impacted your life in a great way.
The grotesque, though, the grotesque. I meant to say this. The grotesque is basically, um, it's it's a good word because it hints towards darker themes and horror and stuff like that. But there's a thing in literature called there's a character in classic literature called the grotesque, and it's basically the sympathetic monster, kind of like Beast from Beauty and the Beast, or the Hunchback of Notre Dame, where he's disfigured and he's a monster, but you feel sorry for him and you're drawn in. So our main character is a grotesque. Not he's not. He also thinks he is grotesque, but
Right. He feels grotesque. He may not necessarily. He may not be as grotesque as he feels,
yeah,
but that gets projected onto other people.
yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
and he is also a sympathetic monster, like in classic literature, which they referred to
Yeah.
as a grotesque. Yeah.
Yeah. And uh, wow, ADHD, man. I had a question lined up, but then
This is one
you
of the
keep
reasons.
talking. You know, I
This is one
love
of the
how you're
reasons
doing
why
this.
I waited for you to leave, but to make my next movie. It's your ADHD. I mean,
Um, I so you're crowdfunding a
mhm,
film, and the thing is, you know for people to like trust you with the money, because obviously one they have to like the project, but two
mhm.
they want to trust the person that they're giving the money to. So I feel like maybe if we should give a little kind of give us a little history of kind of like what are your what I get. I mean, if I can be blunt, what qualifies you to be able to make a what I assume to be a film of the quality that could be released
Um,
in theaters? You know, and a legitimate feature film. Uh, so yeah, make it more comfortable with data,
well, I mean, just because I say so.
right? And because I have charisma and I'm a nice guy.
Right. So I mean, we've been working on this stuff for like 30 years. In fact, it's 31 years. It was 1994 when I started trying to make movies, and that was
Yeah.
31 years ago at this point.
When you were throwing me around in your
Yeah.
short
Yeah.
film,
Yeah, and that
I
was
forget what
that
was it
was
called, Middleman,
the complex middleman
and
syndrome. Well,
you
yeah, the
had
middleman. Yeah.
your huge large brother throwing me
Yeah.
around onto beds.
Yeah, just what is it? Well, I can't think of the word, but you just got to do things that make you happy, and throwing you around just made me happy. So yeah, I mean, we've been doing it for a long time, and over the years we've made things like short films, and I mean, we've worked
We
on
made
all
comedies,
kinds of we've made
horrors,
comedies, and
dramas. Yeah.
we've made little horror short films, we made drama short films, done all kinds of things. And then like a few years ago, this, you were there, we made our feature film, Really Pathetic and Totally Awkward, which we
Yes.
stitched together with like the money in our back pocket. We literally just paid for people to park their cars,
Yeah.
and we bought food and stuff. And but we shot a full movie in like 9 days, and
Yeah.
um, we swore. that we'd do everything we could do in our power to not do it that way ever again. So,
Yeah, that was kind of
may-
like our film school or our, when you go to film school, you have to, it's kind of what your thesis
like a
film or
thesis,
whatever.
yeah, your thesis,
Yeah,
yeah,
that was our look. We know how to do this, and here's you. This may be very flawed, but we can
yeah.
make it happen. Just the
y-
two of us. Well, we had what two,
We had
two.
help. We had help. No movie gets made with
Yeah,
no help.
we had like
But
three other
it's
people, I think, and that was pretty much it. It's just a handful of us, and we went from beginning to end. We made a film that makes sense
yeah.
and is flawed,
You,
but we made a film. And uh, one thing I wanted to touch on is I think most of the short films that you have made, and I think even the feature film, it's all online. I can't say all of it. Most of it is on YouTube, so everyone can. And you're gonna have you have links to all all of it. I'm sure it's somewhere in
yeah,
your
yeah, yeah, yeah.
promotional material and the website and all of that that people can go and get an example of your work.
Of course, if you want to see any of our short films to see if we know what we're doing or not, you got to go to smuentertainment.com. And then there's a little tab at the top of the page that says films, and you can see most of the films that we've released there.
So
Um,
SMU as in super mega ultra, but it's
yeah, super mega
SMU
ultra. Yeah.
entertainment. And you can see all of our stuff, or you can watch little. Don't, well, I don't know. Do you have little? The demo reel stuff might be on your other
Yeah,
site.
it's up there too. If you just go to our
Oh,
YouTube
okay.
channel, which you can get to from the website. Yeah.
Uh,
It's just experience, and ultimately we can't make anybody believe in it. It's like you just if you see what you like, or if you like what we're saying here, just put in faith. You just have faith in us as filmmakers. But the real thing is, like, it's the film that it's like the film you want to make. You know what I'm saying. You're asking me
yeah,
why. It's like, why is ultimately because I don't want to make a cutesy pie comedy. I don't want to make a cutesy pie drama. Those movies all have their place and everything, but I am more fixated on darker
yeah.
themes and darker edges and people's.
If there's one thing that you do, sorry for interrupting, but you make things that no one's seen before. You
I try to, yeah.
yeah,
And some of the things they haven't seen before because I haven't made them yet, and it's a real struggle to get to them. But
yeah,
I just I like thinking about a character's, like, if this character was normal, they would be like this. But since they're not normal, how have the choices they've not normal? Normal isn't the right word, but if they were not so
typical.
fixated or obsessed with or fixated on their own problems, if they weren't basically, if they were being present, they wouldn't have this problem. But since they're fixated off over here on this thing that they won't let go of, what are the decisions they make
Yeah.
because that little fucked up thing is making them um make the wrong decisions for
It
themselves.
sounds
You know what
like
I mean?
obsession.
Yeah, and I've always described my stories as miserable people making terrible decisions. That's some of it. And if
Basically,
you've read basically every one of my screenplays, and most of them are miserable people making terrible
yeah.
decisions.
And
Yeah.
do by the way, you shared with me a little kind of like the first few minutes of the
Yeah.
story in audio form.
Mhm.
Are you interested? Is that available to the
It
public? Some of the material you
it
shared
will
with
it
me,
will be it will be. Yeah, it's coming out. It'll be out by the time we're done having this conversation.
and there'll be
Yeah.
a link, and so they can get like a
Yeah.
tease of it because
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I remember texting you that it was one of the basically the most compelling first few minutes of any of your scripts that I've read.
Okay.
I wanted
Thank you.
to. I was compelled to keep going. Um,
Yeah, yeah, I decided that it's kind of hard to, like the pitch, like I said, the pitch video I put together, it leaves out a lot of stuff because it's really just we're just trying to, we have like 2 minutes to get people's attention to try to contribute to the crowd fund or something like that. So I
yeah,
wanted to, I felt like maybe if I read the first 10 or 12 10 or 12 pages like it's an audiobook, if it could at least give them the vibe of what we're setting up in the movie. And the pitch video, there's test footage that we used with our actor friend Anthony Maywright, and that just basically there's like 3 or 4 shots in there that says, oh, it might look like this, it might look like that, but the audiobook, I just thought, oh, okay, well, for people who are curious or interested, they can listen to basically what ends up being about 15 minutes of the film, in audio form, with music and some sound effects to help, bring it up a
yeah.
little bit, so it's not
It
just some
it
stale version of me
it puts
reading.
you in the mood and the world, and you get a really good, mental picture, but also emotional picture of
Yeah,
what all is
yeah,
not what all is
exactly.
happening, but you feel a empathy for the characters, and you understand the stakes and
Yeah,
what's motivating everyone. And
yeah,
that's
it
what
was.
one of the great things, if I may say, uh, regardless of how uh, what would I call it, abstract or off the beaten path your films and scripts
Yeah,
might be,
ideas. Yeah, yeah.
they are all character driven. uh
Mm.
the characters decide what happens next. And
Yeah,
there is, I mean, yes, there are some writing formulas that you follow of, there has to be, you start here and bad things happen and then whatever, but um you don't follow, uh like, you're not going to get a Disney film where you know exactly what all's going to happen and everything's
no, no,
safe, right?
I'm gonna squander my career in penniless indie films that
Yeah.
make people really uncomfortable.
That
Yeah, yeah. Mm.
if there's anything that's going to happen, you're going to be surprised, you're going to be made uncomfortable, and probably compelled to see what happens next.
Yeah, you know this. I feel like you are kind of in the same place. We might come at it from different angles, but I'm curious about people. I like thinking about why is that person like that, or what happens to that person to make them like this. Um, and it's not always a pretty thing, right? Sometimes it's like, man, whatever happened to that guy in his past makes me not want to be around him anymore. But it's not always like that. Sometimes, I approach it like I care about people. These people are unhappy. Why is that? Let's see what we can explore about. Are they going to stay unhappy because of the choices they make, or are they going to come out on the other side? And this particular thing, I started thinking about. I joked with you earlier. It's kind of like mindfulness,
Hmm.
um, which is weird that a psychological thriller might
Right.
have something, or a horror movie might have
Yeah.
anything to do with
Yeah,
mindfulness.
like, if there was a positive takeaway, it would be that. And I think that is one of the main themes of all the stuff you write is look at all the things they're doing wrong. Don't do what these people do. And it allows you to analyze. Well, it may be like you could look at some things you've done in your life that are similar or whatever, because you always relate to
Yeah,
the character that you're watching. But
yeah.
it basically, you're showing by example. Don't do this.
Yeah, I do. I think of it like, man, you could, even if a movie is like really hard to sit through, like really depressing or sad or brutal or any of those things, I can walk out of a movie and go, man, I thought I was unhappy. Maybe at least my life, at least that I don't have that guy's life, at least I
Right.
haven't, So, but this guy he's basically he's in his own echo chamber. He has this confirmation bias thing of I'm a terrible person. I'm ugly. I'm disfigured.
No one wants
Then
me. Yeah.
no one wants me. Who would want me? And he's convinced himself all of these things. to the point where he's been alone so much, it's just bouncing around in his own mind like a ping pong ball. It's like just reconfirming all of his um, suspicions about his own self. Not even suspicions, just his own things he's convinced about himself, just because he doesn't have anybody else there to tell him any different. He just is, it's just him telling himself I'm terrible and then confirming that he's terrible by continuing to do and think terrible things. So he's
Yeah.
like, see, look, and then he's just creating, it's like self-fulfilling. He's just creating his own misery by being more and more miserable and then using that misery as proof of how terrible of a person he is. And
Yeah.
I thought, oh, let's make a movie about that.
And
you know,
what about the other characters? Is it just two characters, or are there any other?
yes, uh, there's peppered throughout the thing, throughout the script is a like a doctor, like a therapist or a
Right.
counselor. We don't know where it is. It's sort of a nondescript office, and this doctor is asking him questions, and the doctor seems to know the answers to the questions, like maybe they've had this conversation before. And but Owen is our main character's name. Owen is, answering and getting agitated a little bit. It was like, this, I've told you all this before. So we don't know when that is in the timeline of the
Right.
movie. We just know that what we're kind of hearing a story told by really an unreliable narrator, because the narrator thinks he's a terrible person. So he's telling the most awful version of the story
Yeah.
because that's what he's convinced he has done
It
or
kind of
has happened.
makes me think of that TV show with the dude from The Office where he was kidnapped by his patient. The psychiatrist was kidnapped by his patient.
You're talking about
It was a one
Steve
season.
Carell?
Steve Carell.
Yeah,
It's
I never
I'm
saw that.
getting vibes of that.
Is that what happens in that show? He's
Oh, you
because
didn't
it's
see it?
because what I knew about it was that he's a therapist, but I didn't know he was kidnapped by his
Yeah,
patient.
is a killer
Well, now
that,
I'm interested.
yeah, he and then keeps him on because he doesn't want to keep killing. So
Yeah,
he has his therapist or psychologist there full time. I think it's a
interesting.
therapist.
Interesting. Yeah.
Anyways,
So our main character is Owen.
yeah.
He's the protagonist, but he's also the antagonist of the film, of the movie, because he's like also the villain. In fact, the original name of this film was just called Villain. He does terrible things in the first 45, 50 minutes of
Mm.
the film, just like stuff that you would be like, I, you know, and I was really worried. I took it as a writing challenge. Like, how can I make this guy do terrible things and somehow we still feel
Empathy.
curious,
Yeah.
empathy or curious about what he's going through or like wanting to keep watching.
And what
And I,
about the what was it, the female interest? I think you talked a lot
yeah,
about him, but
the
I don't know a lot
his
about
love
the other.
interest, his love
Yeah.
interest. Yeah, her name is Bella, which I took from, of course, Belle from The Beauty and the Beast. And she is basically, she's so when we meet her, she's sitting outside a grocery store texting her ex-boyfriend who is, checked
Oh,
out.
yeah.
He's broken up with her. And yeah, you heard this in the
I
audiobook.
yeah, I remember it. It's kinda rough, and he, gets pretty pissed.
Yeah, and she's upset, she's heartbroken, and she's like kind of like stuck in that rut where you go out of your way for people your whole life, and then people,
Yeah. Like,
since
"How
you
dare
are
you?"
since you are kind, a lot of times nice people who are unflappably kind, they get taken advantage of.
Yes.
People take for granted the fact that, oh, when I'm ready to talk to you again, she'll be there because she's a nice person. So she's kind of
Right.
like that. She's a very sweet person. So she gets caught up in this thing, just like randomly bumps into Owen in a grocery store, and
He seems to make more out of it than it's
she's
kinda
oh
like
he
repressed
needs
people. Yeah, but with people who are, have what is it, arrested development, especially
yeah
socially. A
yeah
woman, who, is a toucher, could just, touch your arm. It's like, oh, she
Yes,
likes me.
yeah.
She touched me. So he's kind of like taking things out of proportion.
Way out, blowing things way out of proportion. In fact, I heard an introverted person say one time, what most people don't realize is I have all these secret relationships with people inside my head,
Exactly.
and
Yeah. That
that's sort of
sums
the
up
Owen.
this film kind of.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel. Yeah.
And and she's caught off guard by it, but at a certain point throughout the film, like I said, he's an unreliable narrator, so he's telling the story of what's happened. So we don't always know what actually happened or what is his version of what happened, what was in his mind, what did or did not happen, all that stuff. But his version, his rabbit hole that we are going down, is him. The way she is represented in it is she responds so well to his unflappable adoration, even if he does things like, sneak into her house, drug her bottle of wine so when she drinks it, she passes out, and then he grabs her and takes her home with him and ties her to a bed.
Yeah.
Even though he does all those things, he also um, seems like he really cares. So this was the
I
tricky part because she's sort of like, it almost seems like she falls in love with her abuser, which, by the
yeah.
way, happens all the time, whether it's good or not.
But she also, from what we've talked about, uh, we've talked about the film before. You told me about it, and uh, I know I haven't read the entire script, but I know pretty much everything that happens. But she comes across to me as a strong woman. She's
Yeah.
in a unfortunate. She is a nice person, but
Hmm.
she ends up in this unfortunate place. But she is by no means weak or dumb or whatever. She is
Yeah, she's
always whatever control she can gain, she does it, and whatever she does, it almost a lot of it seems like she allows things to happen because she's looking for a certain goal. So she's like, okay,
Mhm.
I'll allow this because I want to be in this position.
Yeah.
She's always working and
n-
an
n- you
angling.
know this. I think that um I think that kind people are the strongest people.
Hmm.
They people assume that they are weak or assume that they're pushovers, but it takes incredible strength to be nice and kind and
To hold
understanding.
back.
Yeah, and also it's real easy for that strength to become your weakness, so that you do get taken advantage of and all of
Hmm.
that. And I don't think Bella in our script has quite figured out how strong she is, and I don't think she's quite figured out that she feels like she needs to be tougher, but really what she needs to do is, be kind, but just not let herself get taken advantage of because of it, push back a little bit.
Hmm.
And again, we do not know what is real and what is not real. We do not know what happened and didn't happen because it's Owen telling the story, you know.
Yeah. So speaking of that, there's a psychologist, and there's this whole "what is happening" thing. To
Mhm.
explain the psychology a little bit, or go into the psychology, I guess. In the it's This is a horror psychological thriller,
Yeah. Yeah.
with darker themes. So I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but is there anything like more in depth that I don't
Yeah.
even know if we could even say anything that hasn't already been said.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I can talk about it a little bit more. Like when I said a few minutes ago that it's mindfulness, I think that um, it's very important in life. I meditate every day. You and I have a podcast about meditation, so it's very strong. And my main reason for why I think mindful meditation actually helped me so much is because I was in a place when I started meditating where I was feeling very kind of like cynical and hopeless. It's like nothing good is ever going to happen. Nothing good ever happens. Why bother? All of that stuff. And my sarcasm, my general predilection towards sarcasm turned into real cynicism. And if you're not careful, you can spiral out from there and become a completely different person. Like I was saying, you can get swept away by your own negativity or your own lack of presence. If we're talking about mindfulness, mindfulness is about being here and now and knowing what's going on right now
Right.
and
And
not
he's
not
not that
worrying.
at all.
He's not that at all. You're worried about what has happened or what might happen, which
And
is
he's in his
always,
own
and he's in his own fractured reality because he is not present. He's not being present. So I feel strongly that, like, yes, it's got disturbing shit in it. There's some disturbing behavior. There's some really fucked up stuff in there. But I can trace it all the way back to this guy just needs to meditate. Not really, but yes, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
He's just not. He's in a he's in an echo chamber of confirmation bias where he's just reconvincing himself over and over and over
Yeah.
again that nothing good is ever going to happen. So
And
I need to do something about it now, and I need to take action so I can get what I want.
also, this not. I think I kind of hit on what I was where I was trying to go with this. It's like it's a battle of almost the battle of wits and emotion. Um, in I don't know, psychology maybe, but it's the woman versus the man, and the man using his his power to get what he wants, and she's using her intellect and in her emotional intelligence as well to
Mhm.
get what she wants out of it too, and
Yeah.
it seemed if from what I remember, a good portion of the film is this battle of her between him and her, her trying to give him enough, but also get what she wants. It's very. I love this kind of stuff. I love sitting
Mhm.
there thinking, and I think this is where the audience will enjoy this. It's sitting there thinking, "Oh, what would I do here? Oh, I would do this or I would do that," and getting to
Yeah.
watch her. Uh, s- s- um, I know some of the scenes, and I know that she does some things that when I was thinking, oh, I would try this or I would do that or I would, and she does some of those um smart things. There's a lot of
Mhm.
for people who are intellectual and like saying, oh, because that's to me that's the fun of films like this is
Mhm.
well, this is what I would do, and then you whatever when they make a choice, you see if your what you were going to do would have worked or not or what so anyway, this kind of fun that way.
Yeah.
A little bit of a cat and mouse, but the mouse was caught by the cat and the cat's playing with the mouse.
I did a couple table reads with some actor friends of ours. We put together, 4 or 5 people and just did a table read about a year ago. Um, and I got some great, it's great to hear your stuff out loud so that you can go, oh, that line doesn't sound right, or none of that. Like you hear it and you're like, oh, it's when people are reading it back to you, you can sit there and go, oh, well, that little section doesn't really make any sense. But when you're reading it, you're subconsciously connecting the dots that you think it is. You know what I mean? So when you hear
Right.
it from someone,
Yeah.
but
You're trying to
the
figure
this
out what's going on in his head, and is this BS or did this really happen or whatever, but on top of figuring out what would I do and
yeah.
yeah.
And we had I the other thing I really love about having table reads is like I like that I but the best part is the discussion you get to have with people after it
After, right.
who just talking about like, oh, well, this character, like, and you hear good questions like,
Yeah,
why did he
because the
do that?
actors the actors are going into the minds of the people they're playing, so you can get a
Yeah.
little bit of insight of maybe some things you hadn't even realized yet because you hadn't gone in depth with you weren't
Yeah,
trying to play the character.
it's just perspective. You get some good
Perspective,
perspective.
exactly.
So we
Actors have that
the
unique perspective.
the it's the first. I won't say the first script, because people who know me read something and go, I don't know where you come up with this stuff. I mean, it's great, but but this particular script opened up a huge conversation about like what from other people. I wasn't the one prompting this, like about what about life and how it feels to be lonely, and how sometimes when you get so lonely you get desperate, and
Yeah.
and you start to get maybe a little angry or jaded or whatever. And but
You,
this guy's loneliness has like run away with his sanity.
and
So
I just want to say real quick, honestly, there are parts of us that in our lives have the fantasy has come out like, oh man, that person is so perfect. I wish I could just
yeah,
put them in my
yeah,
basement.
yeah.
Or
No one's ever
I
thought that
mean,
about you. No one's ever thought that about you, Brad. But yes, some people. Was this
uh,
kicking a man while he's down?
yes, I that's true. But that's okay. That's how you are, and that's why you're so good at writing dark, evil characters
Hmm.
because that's
Yeah,
who you are. All
yeah,
right. So we got to. I'm running out of time, and I want to get to the crowdfund and
yeah,
everything you need people to know if they are
yeah,
interested, want to know more, maybe want to help or share it with other people.
yeah. Well, the beauty of where we are in modern times is that I already have so much of the equipment we need to make a movie, because it's so affordable now that it's possible to acquire those things. Pick it up as you go. I've got a couple of cinema cameras. I got some decent lenses. I've got lighting and stuff. So all that stuff we would have to rent in the past, or find somebody who had all that gear. And but even so, the stuff we still need to get, or the like, you can make movies now so much cheaper, so much faster, and so much smaller than ever. You go to a movie and you watch the credits, because MCU has a post credit scene coming up, so that's the only reason most people sit through the credits anymore.
5 different
um,
production companies help make it.
there's 5 different production companies, and you can see hundreds of people. But you and I made a film. There are never more than 4 people on set. There's you, me, and that's 1.5. That's not even 2 people.
I don't even count.
Yeah, and we had our DP and a sound guy. There were sometimes some people that stopped by for a couple hours to help here, help there, but every day there was 4 of us and the actors, and we made a movie that way. Sometimes you can look at that
Yeah.
movie and you can tell that it was really small, but
So
it doesn't really matter.
that makes it you got ding with the light bulb above my head.
Hmm.
So knowing that with we did that with no money, and we got like
Hmm.
something that we're like, hey, look, we can make a film, but is it? We don't even. I don't know. Maybe whatever. Uh, if with more money,
Yeah,
how could you make this like something amazing versus
yeah,
us having to rough it with the little to nothing and stressing out and pulling all our hair out. I mean, you don't have any left now. It was that film that did it to you.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, what does you're crowdfunding for money? What does that money do?
So we are going to be able to. So a lot of times when you're making a DIY film, like very low budget, you're relying on people's um, time. You're relying on other people's availability. So number one, when you raise money for a movie, the first thing you can do is hire actors instead of just beg actors to show up, so that it's a job. They might not
Yeah.
be making thousands of dollars, but a couple $100 a day, we'll all that stuff. They can show up and hopefully be a little more prepared than people are just donating their time.
Yeah, yeah. I was just thinking. Also, you could secure locations instead of
Yeah,
having to rely on
yeah,
your actor,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
have your location drop out on you
yeah,
that
yeah.
morning of, and then you got to figure
So
out where you got to shoot the scene.
yeah, our movie, Really Pathetic and Totally Awkward, was a comedy, but it was really a horror show. so
Yes.
so like here's the thing. Our first feature film that we finished was that we found out the day before we started shooting that our location fell through, and you and I had already been through the process of casting and recasting and rescheduling the film like 3 or 4 times over the last couple of years prior to that.
Right.
And so
Just go.
we made a decision to just, let's scramble and find something by tomorrow so that we don't have to cancel the shoot again. And that got us into, we made a quick decision that kind of screwed us in the end, because we took the word of somebody. We were put in a position where we took the word of somebody who, by the way, who was already wrong about the first location, now that you think
Right.
about it. But the second location, he's like, I called my friend. She said we could shoot there, but he told her, we'll be there for a day or two, a couple days. Well, I knew that we were never going to be there for 2 days. We're going to be there for like 4 days,
Yeah.
and so already she was mad with us and annoyed with us and all that stuff. But so now the reason we never wanted to do that again is because we don't like doing that to people. Having a film crew in your location, even if you're being paid, is already frustrating enough. And we know that it's like being an unwelcome guest.
Yeah.
And so with the budget, you can hire actors, you can pay a couple of crew people to run some errands for you, you can food, you can hire locations, you can get insurance, and all of those things are so much cheaper now, are so much more accessible now than they were even 5 or 6 years ago when we made our last feature film, and so much more possible. So you see that we're trying to raise $25,000 for our movie, and you think, how do you make a movie for $25,000? And I'm like, bitch, I made a movie for zero.
Right.
$25,000 feels like $1 million to me right now.
Yeah.
So we just spent. We really, the truth is, it's like the reason we can do it for that little amount is because I've spent the last 30 years figuring out how to do it
Right.
without $1 million. So it's also just being able, because I don't like asking people to work for free. I'm comfortable working for if it's my film and I'm stitching it together with the equipment we have in the back room and editing it on my computer. I'm comfortable because what I'm getting out of it is a film. But and it's my passion project. It's the thing. It's my current girlfriend. It's what I'm in love with right now. You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
but um, Joe Schmo actor that we found on Green Room Orlando or something, or came across a friend of a friend actor who might be great, but it shouldn't be their responsibility to bear the weight of our free production. You know what I mean? I
Right.
feel so much better even if you could just throw somebody $50 or $100 to show up for a couple of hours and be the guy who bumps into the person on the street corner. That if you could just like throw some people some cash so that it just feels like, hey, we value your time, you're important, we appreciate you,
Hmm.
um, let's do this, we got a couple takes and then we can send you on about your way. I feel so much better about that, and that is the place that I want to be as a filmmaker, where I
Right.
can do stuff. And if I have to make smaller movies with like me as the DP and couple of crew people, somebody standing around helping me move lights around and stuff like that. If I have to do it that way, and so I can still be able to pay people a little bit, that's why I'm crowdfunding the Grotesque, is so that I
Yeah.
can do things like that.
Well, awesome. Hopefully, uh, it'll happen. Let's wish upon a star and rub the magical genie
Yeah,
lamp.
wish upon a star.
Let's
Yeah,
make it happen. Let's manifest it. Put it on your your board, your
Yeah,
manifestation board or whatever.
you might. They're called a vision board. Yeah, you don't
Right,
even
there
know
we
what it
go.
is. I don't believe. I don't think you. I don't think you must
I
have one.
can't
You might.
manifest shit. I don't believe in it. It don't work for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. So you're spiritually constipated. You can't manifest shit.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
Right.
What do it? What all did it? What do you call? Links. Where do they go
Okay.
to find
So
out more? Share all of that stuff.
So we're crowdfunding on Indiegogo, and the reason we're crowdfunding on Indiegogo is because, like, is what I was saying before. Yes, I'm trying to raise $25,000, but Indiegogo, you don't have to lock in the amount of money you raise. So if I raise $10,000 or 15,000, that's just 5,000 more dollars that I need to raise somewhere, so I can shoot the
Right.
film.
You can still
So
use it.
so we're taking we are also seeking investors. You can buy percentage points of the film for $500 or more. So you can buy 1% of the film for $500, and that's on our crowdfund page. But really, if you want to do that, you need to email me so I can come up. I give you an investor agreement we could sign, and you can still contribute through Indiegogo if you want. But if you want to do that, you need to contact me, and that's on our page. And so it's Indiegogo, but the quickest way to find anything that we've put out for the film is thegrotesquefilm.com, and it's at the top of this screen we got here. If you go to thegrotesquefilm.com, you can find a link to our pitch video that we made. You can find a link to our Indiegogo campaign. You'll be able to listen to the audiobook thing we mentioned, and any other thing that we've released along the way will be there in that little hub, so that you can just go straight to that little grotesque portal and find what you're looking for.
What? Just out of curiosity, can you, off the top of your head, are there tiers, investment tiers on the?
Yeah, there's tiers, and it's a traditional crowdfund. It's like we've got, like, hey, for $10 we'll give you a social media shout out. For $25 you can, you'll obviously get a digital copy of the film to view when we're done with it. And $50 we're gonna give you some, you'll get a signed poster maybe. Things like that. They're all broken down on the Indiegogo page. But we've got things like, I kind of want, I would love to, I'm big on the behind the scenes stuff. I like having a place where people, like like a Discord or a Slack channel or something where people can see what's happening while it's happening. Maybe at the end of the day,
Right.
we'll just upload a bunch of pictures so people can see. There's things like that peppered throughout the tiers and all that stuff, all the way up to, if you're, like I said, if you want to invest and own a percentage of the film, so that if the movie ever makes money, that you have to say if the movie ever makes money, you will get a return on your investment.
So if I'm to understand, sorry, if I'm to understand that there's a certain tier level where you'll get behind the scenes content. We plan on providing that. Okay. And I'm assuming their credits will go like in the film as well.
Credits in the film, special thanks, and certain tiers, and I can't remember the exact numbers, but at the $500 mark, you get a in association, or like in a co-executive producer credit, like in the opening credits, and you got an executive producer. And then if you come in and finance and by the way, I'd be happy if you did come in and finance the whole film for like $10, $15, $20,000 levels, we can even put your, like Bradly Kingston Presents, super mega ultra, the Grotesque,
that would be cool.
At the opening credit. Yeah.
So if I had the money, I would do that right now.
Well, I know you would. If you had the money, we wouldn't be here trying to do a crowdfund.
But I don't.
Because I'd just borrow from you. But, and I might even let you come make the movie with me if you did that. Maybe.
Otherwise.
If I can ever forgive you for the last time.
Yep.
Why do I think all this stuff is funny and you're not laughing at all?
What I do know is whatever you say or do, I'll be flying down there and showing up. So you better have something for me to do.
Yeah, we I will I always, you heard me describe how the film is being made. I could always use some extra help, especially
Yes.
from a friend that I feel obliged that I don't have to pay. I can just give you a producer credit.
Yeah. Feed me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Feed you. That works. You don't eat
Uh,
much. You eat like a rabbit, so you eat
I
like a
very
rabbit,
little.
like little
Yes,
portions. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. It
Yeah.
takes me
Yeah.
a while to get through.
Yeah.
The more you know.
The more you know. Yeah, you can
So
also
right.
people can also find me. I mean, I'm putting out a lot of like this conversation that we're doing here. I'm going to take it. I'm going to cut it up into little bits and pieces. I'm going to put it on my Instagram, my TikTok, so that you can see. So if you ever want to, if you want to go help me out in a way, help the film out in a way that doesn't cost you money or doesn't require money, you can always like share it, send a link to a friend that might like this type of movie, stuff like
Yeah.
that. You can help that way. And
And all
my
those
social
links.
media, is Becca Meyer, my last name. It's Becca Meyer everywhere. TikTok is Becca Meyer, Instagram is Becca Meyer. um I'm not so much
um,
on Facebook, but it's Michael
Yeah.
Becca Meyer on Facebook.
Alrighty. And hopefully you YouTube Shorts too. You need to do
Yeah,
put everything
you
I
made
guess
me.
on SMU Entertainment to put up the
Yeah,
YouTube Shorts.
yeah. Yeah, you said YouTube Shorts before we started talking, and I was like, ugh, that's one more thing
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't
Ec-
ever done it, but yeah,
Eccarata.
yeah. You can, yeah. You never know. That's the thing. You never know. I'm not saying no. It's just like it's something that I haven't done. It's like
Yes.
when you're got a crowd fund or when you got a project going at all times. There's
Yeah.
always. It's almost like Oscar Schindler, where at the end where he's like, I could have done so much more. That's how
Yep.
I feel at the end of every project. I could have done so much more.
Well, that's why you need a little help from a little guy. So, alrighty. Any
Yeah, you
last
can
things that you want to leave people with before we wrap this up?
just know that if you've ever read the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, the basic premise of that book is suffering is inevitable. We're all going to have things happen to us that we wish hadn't. We're all going to be on these roller coasters you know, of joy, ups and downs, all that stuff. And the premise of that book is if that's true, and I believe it is true, then you need to find something you love and do that. Because if you're going to be miserable anyway, you might as well be doing something that stands a chance of making you happy, that you enjoy, that you feel good. And for me, that is filmmaking. I like telling stories. I like hanging out on set with actors and making something. And then what I really like is the next time do it all over again, but it's completely different. So I will not stop trying to make movies. That's why
Oh
I'm
yeah.
here. I won't stop. You know how I get if I'm not working towards something. I get real grouchy.
Yeah.
I feel
It's
very,
it's so
antsy.
weird. It's like we've talked about this before. It's like you slowly die inside when you're not
Yeah,
producing or something, building, making something, and you feel like you're the Walking Dead, and then in the moment you get to you work on an idea, or the moment you get to get on set and shoot something. Hell, even when you get to plan it out, when you get to
yeah,
think about all the details, and it's like, oh, we're gonna need a wrench, right? And then probably some screwdrivers and the whatever. You just getting the minute details, and just like uh all of a sudden you're just pulling the energy from the earth and the elements around you, and you're alive again when you're making stuff, and that's what it feels for us. I
yeah,
you know
yeah.
That's why we
Yeah,
live.
so that's my thing. It is my thing. It's what makes me happy. It's what makes me, like I said, it's my subtle way of not giving a fuck. I just go
Yeah,
and do the thing that, and I want to keep doing it, and but I also feel like it's important to try to level up with each production. Our last film we
of
made
course.
we literally made for $800, and all the equipment we'd bought over 25, 30 years of stuff. But
Yes.
literally, we spent like maybe $1,000 trying to get that thing made, and now we're just trying to level up and make a better film, a more responsible film.
Yeah,
And this is how we want to do it. So I appreciate everybody who's contributed so far, and I appreciate everybody who is considering contributing at this very moment. I appreciate you offering to come here and sit here and listen to me talk about movies,
oh,
which you already have heard
oh
me
yeah.
talk about before.
I'm very poor, and I wanted to being all the way over here in Ohio and not being able to work on it with you. I thought the next best thing would be to make a video because this is like producing, right?
Yes.
It may not be a film, but I'm producing something. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm on
Yeah.
camera. This stuff's happening and being recorded. So
You're not
I
poor. You're just a poor excuse of a human, is what it
That is
is.
very true.
Yeah.
That was a grotesque attitude, sir. Um, anyways,
You're the grotesque in my life. You're the sympathetic monster in my life.
maybe I could see that. Um, so anyways, yeah, just wanted to my we're here because I wanted to do something to help. And
I
so
appreciate
this
it.
is what I thought I could do that's in our wheelhouse and um, easy to do. So, anyways, everybody, thank you for joining us. My name is Bradley Kingston, and this was Michael Beckemeyer. The film is
That's
The
me.
Grotesque, and all the links will be in all the places where they should be. And
Yes.
just click on them. And if you're a little bit curious, you check out all the stuff. We got all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff for you to look at as far as the films we've done in the past, and little snippets. And you performed the first 5 minutes of the film. You what do you call it? Did it kind of
Audiobook.
podcast, an audiobook.
Yeah.
At the very least, check out the first 5 minutes of the film.
Well,
Uh,
it's
the
15 minutes,
grotesque
but
shot.
yes, it's the first 15
Oh,
minutes. Yeah,
well,
but yes.
I maybe
What you're telling me
there's
though
a
is it flew
part in
by.
there that I kind of find disturbing. So
Yeah,
maybe you should
yeah.
just get out in 5 minutes.
Yeah, what he's trying to say is he doesn't like the part, but it's
Yeah, there's
okay.
a part that
Yeah.
so
Well, this means it's a success. If you're squirming, I'm feeling pretty good about what's happening. If you're starting to get uneasy about it, not just you, but just people.
so
I
now
like people being uncomfortable.
now they have to go
Yeah.
listen
Yeah.
because now they got to know what am I talking about. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right, so
And you'll know. You'll know what he's talking about.
follow at Beckemeyer on all
Yeah.
the stuff to keep
Yeah.
up with what's going on, and you can join his the mailing list also, and he
Yes.
will you get weekly updates on here's where we are and
Yeah.
here's how much you got and all that. All right,
Yes. All that. All right. Thanks.
hopefully we'll see you guys later.
See ya.